Welcome back to another episode of the Shout at the Devils podcast. I'm Daniel Amoia. I'm a Devils beat reporter for the Hockey Writers. I'm here alongside Justin Brady, who runs Devils Fanatics on Instagram. And obviously, past couple weeks ish for the Devils were pretty brutal, but they got two big wins and trying to get back on track. Big win on a back-to-back, second half of a back-to-back as well against Minnesota. Quinn Hughes and the Minnesota Wild blew him out basically, which I don't think a lot of people were expecting. And then a gutsy, really grinded out a 3-2 overtime win against the Seattle Kraken. Um, Not saying everything was perfect in those games, but right now the Devils need points. They're sixth place in the Metro right now. I think they're still five teams ahead of them, even though they're only 4 points behind the second wild card spot. That no matter how it happens, they need to find ways to win, and we know that the stretch they had, very bad stretch, including a 9-0 loss, they were not as bad as that stretch made them seem. Not saying that there's cup contenders or anything like that, or they don't have issues, but the Devils are not a team that loses 9-0. Matt Barzal even said it after the Islanders beat them 9-0. Like this is not the Devils who we played. Like this is not the Devils we normally face. So big for the Devils to pick up those two wins. Tom Fitzgerald spoke as well yesterday. Well, we might touch on that a bit, but the Devils just need to get back on track. And one thing that stood out to me real quick specifically, Dougie Hamilton has looked like a completely different player since all the drama happened. Obviously, his agent was unhappy with the Devils, felt he was healthy scratched against Winnipeg solely for business purposes and not for performance. You could debate that all you want. Bottom line is, um, whether it was from agent pressure or not, Hamilton came back in the lineup and he's looked like his vintage self. He's getting pucks through a lot better. He's activating more offensively. There's been a lot of games where he's this season where he's kind of just been invisible. I mean, points wise, it's been his worst season of his career, even worse than his rookie season in 2012-13. So but last night he was all over the place, and we know from 22-23, Dougie Hamilton could kind of take over a game offensively sometimes, and we just haven't seen that in really a couple seasons consistently at least. But really for the first time this season, Hamilton was all over the place. I asked Sheldon Keefe after the game if it could be expected that Hamilton remains in the lineup on Saturday, and he said it's still to be determined. Going to check out where Kovacevic and everything is. So I don't know. I personally find it very hard to believe that Hamilton would come out of the lineup after performance like the past couple games. He had 3 points in a 13-minute span when he had 12 points all season prior to that. Or 10 points all season prior to that. But anyways, yeah, that's something that really stood out to me. And the Devils as a whole, they played a much better defensive game. The advanced stats say it was their fifth best defensive game of the season, their best in a month. And look, you could debate roster construction system, all this stuff we could talk about forever. But at the end of the day, they just need to win games right now with where they are in the standings. And that was two big wins to really get them back on track. And the fans were very receptive of that as well. I mean, you could tell that they miss winning hockey. The Devils are not in the spot they should be right now, given where they were a few years back. And the fans are gonna really push. They care about their team. Devils fans are so insanely passionate, for better or worse sometimes. But you can never deny the passion, and they showed that yesterday. The Rock was rocking, and Nico Heischer's really stepped up as well. What, any takeaways, Justin? What's going on for you?
It's very encouraging to see these past two wins. I mean, they had that 4-game losing streak. Prior to that, they had another 4-game losing streak, a stretch of where they won 2 out of 10 games, which was a brutal stretch to say the least for the Devils. And to come out to win these 2 games, very impressive against a very good Minnesota Wild team on the second half of a back-to-back. They controlled that game. They basically dominated that game, I would say. They played a very good goaltender as well and were able to net 5 goals. You had guys stepping up like Dougie Hamilton, Andre Palat. Very encouraging to see Nico Hischier these past 2 games. He's been terrific, winning puck battles, being great defensively as he always is, being tough on pucks, creating plays, scoring goals as we saw last night. He has been a play driver. He's done it all. shout out to him. I cannot stand when people criticize him as a captain because it's just far from the truth. We've seen so many great examples of him being a great captain this year. For example, the whole Luke Hughes situation, him stepping up and talking on his behalf. That was a great example right there. And he's holding a lot of these guys accountable right now and holding himself accountable. And clearly that's starting to show now. Like, he is playing some of his best hockey all season. And that's a great thing to see from your captain. Even Jack Hughes, yeah, he hasn't scored a goal in quite a while, but I thought he played one of his better games yesterday. He turned the puck over quite a lot, but that's what happens when the puck is on your stick so much. He was on the ice for almost 27 minutes, I believe, in yesterday's game. So it's bound to happen, but I thought he's been playing a lot better. Also, shout out to Luke Hughes. Like, ever since that Carolina game where he basically had those two horrible mistakes, I thought he has turned it up to a whole nother level ever since then. I thought his defensive game has been significantly better. He has 5 points in his last 4 games. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's either 5 points in the last 4 games or 4 points in the last 5 games. But regardless, I think he has really turned his game around, and maybe that was the boost that he's been needing for a while now. I think he's on top of his game right now. Credit to him. Really, a lot of guys stepping up these past 2 games. Cody Glass stepping up over these past 3 games now. I saw your tweet, Daniel. You said he's on pace for 23 goals in an 82-game season. That's very good, and that's more than what you can ask for from a guy like Cody Glass. So yeah, great win in Minnesota, and then obviously Seattle. It was a stalemate, 2-2. No team scored in the third period. Devils playing a very tight defensive game in that period, which you love to see. They really shut down the Kraken for the most part of that game. And then, yeah, you go into overtime. You got the two Hughes brothers, Nico, out there, and it's just magic. Jack gets Nico on a stretch pass, and Nico just crashes right into the net and is able to bury one past Grubauer. Just amazing stuff overall. Big to get the 2 points, and sometimes getting those like gritty, gutsy wins like that really goes a long way for a team like the Devils, like where they are right now, rather than a 5-0 blowout. Because I mean, that's a momentous win right there. But the big question is, like, I don't want to say like, oh, the Devils are back, but like, I'm very happy and feeling good about these 2 wins, but it's like, can you keep on doing it? Can you do it against Carolina this Saturday? I think that's the biggest test of all. Can they carry this at home? At home, it's going to be a raucous crowd Saturday against Carolina. Can you carry that into that game after how last time went with that disastrous 2 mistakes by Luke Hughes? Luke Hughes redemption game coming up. Yeah, we want to see a lot more. And hoping to get a win against Carolina. And look, if you get a win against that team, a team that's been a thorn in the side of the Devils for the longest time now, that can just give the team so much more momentum going into the rest of the season. I truly believe that. So it's a very big game coming up. In my opinion, like, I know standings wise, you won't say it's must win, but for me, just for how the team goes the rest of the season, I feel like it's a must win for them. They need something. They need to beat these division rivals. That's the biggest thing right now. They're 0-7 combined between the Islanders, Flyers, and Hurricanes this season. You got to start getting points against your division rivals. That's like, if you're not going to do that, they're not going to make the playoffs. You can't keep getting these points against the Western Conference teams. Like, the Western Conference is significantly more weaker than the East. And it's going to come back to hurt the Devils if they cannot start getting these points against their rivals, just any teams in the Eastern Conference as a whole. So yeah, but good response. Yeah, good to see them follow up from the win, because we so many times we see like, oh, they have a great win and then they just totally fall flat. Good to see them follow through, have another good win here, and then yeah, just the big test Saturday against Carolina. Very excited for it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, just to backtrack a bit, you were right. 5 points in 4 games for Luke Hughes. Great response from him. And yeah, Carolina is the ultimate test. Hamilton said after opening night, well, he said if they can't beat them in their building, what are they going to be able to do long term? But even aside from that, like, just Carolina as a whole is a team the Devils don't match up well with. Even when the Devils have a little better chance in their building, but still not going to be easy. We saw how it went a couple weeks ago. Granted, obviously, it's a really rough game for Luke Hughes, but yeah, I touched on it, I believe last episode, maybe 2 episodes ago, that the Devils' mindset is in a better place. Like you said, Justin, they're not at the point where it's like, oh, this is the game that could turn it around. Now it's like, okay, great win, but what are we gonna do from here? Whereas last season, that's all they said. This is a game that could turn it around. Yeah, we could build off this, and then it never happened. So I at least think their mindset's in the right place under Nico Hischier. I think they're led by the right guy. That's not saying they don't have issues. That's not saying everything's perfect. That's not saying he hasn't even underperformed this season, because offensively he has. Really, the whole core has. Meyer, Bratt, Hischier, and why am I blanking? And Jack.
Yeah.
All 4 of them, their numbers are really not what they were last season. I mean, they're all down. So it's unfortunate, but look, we could talk about Fitzgerald. I'm not even going to really get too deep into it because we know everyone's talked about it and analyzed what he said by now. It was a huge deal. But at the end of the day, the Devils just need to find ways to win, and what's going to happen is going to happen. If the team doesn't get upgraded, or they're not able to do what they want to do because of cap or whatever it is, that's going to come back on Fitzgerald, and we're going to be talking about that then. It already is kind of coming back. It has. That's why they are where they are in the standings. But you said not really a must win. I mean, I get what you're saying, but like standings wise, I would argue it basically is a must win when
Oh,
you
no,
have.
I did say it was a must win.
No, I know, but you said standings wise,
Oh,
like it's
standing.
not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not a must win, but it's pretty close when you have 5 teams ahead of you for a playoff spot. I mean, they just can't afford to slip anymore with the parity in this league. So they just got to figure it out. Obviously, great start, but these 2 wins are completely erased if they lose to Carolina in regulation. If it's like a 4-3 overtime loss where they're competitive and in it and matching up well, okay, maybe different story. But if they just get like if they just get the crap kicked out of them, then it completely erases these last 2 wins, and it's essentially back to square one. So, um, we'll see where it goes. It's a very odd spot because you can't get too high or too low. There have been some real highs and real lows this season.
Yeah, they need to find a way to beat Carolina this weekend. It's must. They need the momentum going, and yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, as you were saying, the standings, like, yeah, there's so many teams ahead of them as it is right now. So many teams ahead of them have multiple games in hand on the Devils, so it's basically essentially like 6 points rather than like 2 points or 4 points being behind, because those teams are most likely going to get wins. The East is as competitive as it can get right now. You have teams like Buffalo, Boston, just playing some of their best hockey right now. There, Pittsburgh's been playing good. A lot of teams right now are just playing some great hockey, and the Devils have to keep up. They have to find a way to keep up. But the good thing is, where the Devils are right now, they are just a 5-6 game win streak away from just putting themselves right back in the playoff race. And that's what Fitzgerald said in his presser yesterday, which is so true. They're that close from being right back in the playoff race, and they need to find a way to do that. Or the biggest thing is they got to string some wins here together. Go on a 10-15 game stretch where you win 70-75% of your games, or at least get points in 70-75% of those games. So points. In the NHL, points is the biggest thing, and it kind of sucks sometimes when you have a team like Vegas be in first place in their division or second place in their division and have less wins than the Devils, who are 5 spots out of a playoff spot right now. Just the parity in the league is absolutely insane, as you always say, Daniel. It's just how it is. Because Vegas, I think, has like 12 or 13 overtime losses, 13 loser points, 12 loser points, whatever it is, but it's just insane compared to the Devils only having 2 this season. So that sucks there. But yeah, big one this Saturday. And also, I didn't mention Dougie Hamilton. Obviously, him and Palat have heavily been talked about in trade rumors, especially as of late. It seems like the Devils are looking to trade both of them, or maybe one of them, prior to the trade deadline, because they're trying to move some money because they want to acquire a top 6 talent. That's what all the reports have suggested. Fitzgerald has said he wants to add talent as well. obviously it's gonna be tough to move those guys because they have the no trade clauses. But Dougie's agent said they'll be flexible and be willing to be traded to other teams as long as it works for all sides. So that'll be interesting to see if Dougie goes. But it seems like ever since that whole kind of thing came out with Dougie's agent, thinking that the Devils scratched him for business reasons, which in my opinion I don't think it was. I just think at the time he was the odd man out. All other six defensemen deserved to be in that spot rather than him. But his agent at the time viewed it as a business thing to try to force a trade of Dougie out of New Jersey. But ever since then, Dougie's been playing with the chip on his shoulder. So honestly, that's not a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing whatsoever. And honestly, while Dougie's here, I'm still gonna root for him. I'm always gonna root for him no matter what. Always been a big Dougie fan, despite his poor play so far this season up until these past two games. But yeah, honestly, it might be for the best that Dougie's has a lot of pressure on him to play his best hockey, and it might be best for the Devils as well until eventually he gets traded, which is the most likely scenario out of this right now. Palat is very has a very good chance of getting traded as well. Reported by Pierre LeBrun, so that'll be interesting to keep track of and see if both of those guys are gone prior to the trade deadline. It'll be exciting to see. So yeah, nice 2 wins, but we'll see how it goes from here. Definitely a lot of question marks, a lot of narratives to follow going towards the last 30-ish games of the season.
Yeah, 100%. I know you talked about the parody. It's funny. Like, I want to go through every article and podcast episode and every conversation I've had since November and see how many times I've said the word parody, because I genuinely think it's over 1,000 right now. Um, but that's just the state of the NHL right now. So that's why you got to keep getting points if you're the Devils, like you said, Justin. Yeah, that's basically it. We appreciate all your support. Looking forward to churning out episodes, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out.